All right, welcome everybody to another interesting discussion, and it's one that's it's always relevant. When to invest in new technology. The fact of the matter is every day there's something new coming out, and the question is when do you buy in? When is the right time to buy in? How long do you take to judge whether it's worthwhile or not? And who do you ask as a reference point for whether you should be investing in that technology? Because I guess, guys, the technology is there. It's not just, from my point of view, I see it all the time for marketing. There's social networking, but there's improvements to, computers. There's new plugins for websites. There's new tools to help you do this and that better. And whether you're on a financial system or whether you're on a coaching system or an IT system or a marketing system or anything else that we can think of, there's always something new. So when do you dive in? Any particular thoughts, Yuriy?
I've seen lots of cases in business when business just chase another new technology and they keep chasing that. So this is an enemy of the systems. Probably one area which is a little bit different, and you mentioned this is marketing. Technology in marketing develops, especially in social marketing, very important because it just people follows that, and this is where the consumers sit and what they follow. But when we are talking about the system, about financial systems, about internal systems, operationals, my point is if it works, don't touch. If it meets the requirements and it works perfectly, there is no need to chase anything new because once it's all efficient, the process behind it set, technology does the job. Yes, there are sometimes big changes, but in internal systems, this is not so urgent and so fluent as in social marketing, for example. Eyal?
Yes, I see technology, as I mentioned in other podcasts that we've recorded, that technology is a tool and it comes to help us to improve our workflows and make it easier and more efficient to manage our business. It's not an end game technology, it's just a tool to help us. And the time to invest in technology is when we see that the current workflow doesn't work or the current technology that we have doesn't support the workflow of our business. And there are different aspects in the business that we can look at technology. As you mentioned, marketing, we have our operational side of the business. They are all served by different part of the technology and different solutions. And we always want to look at how we can improve our workflow, make our daily business easier by implementing the right technology for it that will solve our problems.
I think one of the interesting things in terms of marketing is that, there's so much new stuff that's coming out on such a rapid basis. It's hard to judge when the right time is to jump in if it's going to be something that's going to improve your business, because there's a difference between socializing and having fun and doing something that's going to have a positive impact on your business. And it really is understanding how much time is going to be involved in doing it on a day-to-day basis. Years ago, I remember when Twitter was first released and I was attending a conference and someone gave a good bit of advice and they said, you should dedicate a period of time. And I think, it was at least a couple of weeks, if not a couple of months, where you give yourself over to the technology that you think is going to be worthwhile, particularly from marketing. I'm talking about invest in it, invest your time in it, and then make a judgment call at the end of that period as to whether it's worthwhile continuing or whether you duck out of it. But you can't really get a sense properly from just putting your toe in the water for 5 seconds and deciding whether it's for you or not. And that's the problem. It is the amount of time and picking and choosing the right one, Pierre.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think right now there's so many new platforms and technologies coming out, and having evaluated some of them, what I find is that some of the developers are bringing technology out which is, let's say, at about 60% of where they want to be, but they want to be out there. They want to start getting users. And then there's a lot of promise with saying, oh, that's in the next phase of development, and that's coming, and that's coming. And what you find a lot of times is that in the period it takes them to bring that out, someone else will bring something else out. So it's sometimes a little bit tricky to evaluate how long do you spend on it and how long do you wait versus jumping to something new. And I mean, if you're a smaller business, it's not that difficult to change. But if the bigger the business gets and the more invested into the system you are, it becomes a lot more difficult for the business itself to readjust and keep changing technology. And at the same time, from that human aspect, we don't necessarily want to be changing every 10 minutes or every half hour, or every 2 weeks, because we found something new to jump on. Yuriy?
Yes, I absolutely agree with you, but with the software development background as well, I have another opinion as well, because launching the ideal product, this is not the way to go. So this never works in IT area. And even if we look at the giants in software, say Microsoft, who just delegates all the testing to users, it all comes to releasing minimal viable product just to test the market. And then these IT companies start working on the improvements and bringing more features. And I can second all of you. Yeah, there is lots of noise in the technology space, and it's really, really easy to get into that trap just to chasing that new shiny thing. Pierre, actually, I've got a question to you from the finance perspective. This is probably the most stable area that doesn't move that much, and we've seen quite recently, move from old school MyOp and Zero came and took over pretty much everything and forced MyOp to develop. So what's happening in that space?
Yuriy, in that financial space, a lot of people are moving online with everything, like you say. I think businesses a lot of the accounting software businesses are being forced to come online. People want access. People are mobile, especially with call it the COVID going on, if I can put it that way. Businesses are operating. People are operating, let's say, from their house or from remote premises. People are operating on mobile devices. I think the technology companies are being forced to become mobile. That being said, that's probably more in the small to medium enterprise and the large businesses where that operational side of things, and I mean, Eyal can contribute on this with his experience as well, that operational side of businesses and that infrastructure that is location based for the operational and manufacturing side of business, that's going to be really difficult to become fully mobile. I'm not talking about necessarily the user access or the remote access into the system, but the actual software itself is going to be very tricky to bring that on. So I think a lot of the accounting software developers have been forced by the situation to become more mobile and more responsive as well. Eyal?
Yeah, I think maybe I'll take it a different day. First of all, we need to be careful from hypes. Sometimes software comes out and it becomes a big hype, but it's not necessarily what we need, and we'll find ourselves wasting a lot of time and money adopting this new hype technology, but it's really don't solve anything for us in the business. So we need to be very careful with that. Another thing is businesses, sometimes you are in the business as usual and the day-to-day, you don't really realize what's not working and what's working in terms of technology. And you can use the help of a third party, like a consultant, to help you to realize what you're doing and how you're doing it and how you can improve it and what systems can help you do and achieve this goal. Anthony?
Sorry, I was just going to add in there that what's interesting there is also working out when to get out. You know, there's one thing to when to jump ship because there's a bright, shiny new thing that you think is going to be right, but it's also equally hard to work out when to get out. And I experienced it recently with actually a financial plug-in to Xero. I won't say which one, and I was on the verge of letting go because it was a plugin that was supposed to be helping with my Xero, and it really wasn't doing enough. And literally, I think the day before I was about to pull the pin on it and jump to something else, it released a whole lot of updates that did exactly what I wanted it to do. So I managed to stay where I was. And it's hard to get that judgment right. And I think in part it's why experts like each of us in our different areas are important, because we'll know a little bit more about what are the right things to suit your business and when to jump, when not to jump, what to jump to, and assessing what is going to be relevant and actually improve your business and not become a drain on it. Because that is the other real negative with technology, is that it does take time. And it's whether it's time investing in learning how to use it, or whether it's time in its ongoing use of it. I was talking to someone recently about how social media has completely changed their particular role as it would have been 15, 20 years ago, that it's added a whole nother element of a certain amount of hours of expectation on, because they need to be delivering on that platform. And you have to consider that as well. Yuriy?
Yeah, this is the side of the social marketing, because I think that those technology in those two areas need to be distinguished. In social media marketing, it's quite an easy in and go. But if we are talking about the internal systems, about finance, there is a migration process involved as well, which is not that easy in many cases. And I would just want to share my latest experience with the project management tool. I recently did a switch from one popular tool to another emerging, just because of better integration. So one of the biggest points with technology is how it integrates with everything else in the business. And as Eyal said earlier, technology is a tool and it always supports the process. So it is not the technology that doesn't work, that usually the underlying process that doesn't work. Anthony?
Yeah, and look, and I will just pick you up on the earlier point in regards to marketing. Whilst I am an advocate of the fact that you should jump in and test some things, what you also need to be aware of is when you put something out there and then you pull out, the people that will come and check you out either immediately or in the future are left feeling short. It's like the amount of times where there are websites where you go and you have a look at the blog and there's been nothing there for 2 or 3 years. It's almost better not to have it than to have something that's that old. And I think that's the important thing too, that if you, from a marketing perspective, if as a business you've committed to a particular social media platform for a period of time, and then you decide that's no longer part of what we want to do, then I think you actually need to strongly consider whether you pull out altogether. Just before we wrap up, Eyal?
Yeah, I think every business is different, and there are different scales of technology implementation. And some businesses has their own software. They develop their own software in-house, bespoke software, which to change that will be a different process rather than implementing an existing solution, cloud solution, or otherwise. I think what we need to remember that technology, we are not spending on technology, we're investing in our business when we actually implementing the right technology.
I think that is the perfect point to end on, that it is an investment in your business and you do have to consult people. Don't make a rash decision. Don't just jump in because it's the latest trend. Think about it, consider what your needs are, consider what the implications are, and consider also the fact that you've got limited time. So when you jump into one, you may have to jump out of another one. And that, you know, there can be some crossover time, and then there can also be the fact that you've only got a certain amount of hours that people can work as well. So if you're investing in using a particular piece of technology, ultimately you want it to be saving time and creating new business in some way, shape or form. You don't want it to be taking more time, because then it can potentially take away from other things. But again, there's lots of individual decisions that need to be made, and that's the point of this kind of discussion, is really to say, there are lots of decisions in this process. It's not a simple just jump in because it's the latest one. We welcome anyone sharing some topics that you might want us to discuss in the future. I think this was a good one and sparked by lots of new technology that's out there at the moment. If you've got a particular one you want us to have a look at, let us know, or any other future topics, please drop a message to any one of us. Look forward to speaking to you next time.